And welcome back to Poppy's Workshop and Scroll Saw 101. Let's see, we're on the split screen right now. I think what I want to do is go to just the wide. So today we're going to be talking about cutting straight lines because to be honest with you, straight lines are what makes or breaks most of the scroll saw pieces that we work on. So here is the current King Neptune that I'm working on, and you can see that there are a lot of straight lines in the sun itself. And if they're wonky, it's going to ruin the effect. So let's do this. Let me show you the piece that I just finished. And here's where you're really going to see the importance of straight lines. So number one, if you look here, that straight line, both on the right and left side. And again, that also follows the same sun pattern. But most importantly, look by the date and the two horizontal lines on the left and the right. Those are two separate cuts to make those thick lines. The same with the lines above and below the 1938. That's what makes or breaks this particular piece, or really any piece that you do. So, how do you do straight lines? That is a great question. Um, Let me switch over to split top. There we go. I think we can see that. I already got my blade in, and I'm going to lay down two straight lines here. Usually, when I am working on patterns, I am using, I can get this out of the way for now. I'm using a 1 or 2 point line because my goal is to split it. Um, that's really my goal is to always split that line and to make, in my case, I use magenta or red to make that line disappear. But I want to show you what people do, what they think when they're beginners, and then what you really need to do when you are learning or mastering the straight line. Now, there's a few things that you want to keep into consideration when you are first setting up for your cuts. Number one is going to be that tension. Again, you want very little left and right. You also want to make sure again, you are perpendicular to the cutting deck if that's the type of cut you're doing. Um, Tension, as I said, that high pitch ping about an A note. So you get it in the right way and you use the tensioning knob. That is really important. Also, when you're doing straight lines, generally the thicker the blade, the better. Though number 5 is my go-to. The lines that you saw on that piece with the 1938, that was a number 3, Flying Dutchman Ultra Reverse. So there's that. And also, there is the blade speed. This is something that you're going to have to figure out. The blade speed, you adjust it. I know a lot of people just crank it to max and they go. Um, I don't, oh, excuse me, I've got to adjust my microphone here. I don't do that. Depending on the hardness of the wood, depending on the thickness of the wood, and how long that line is going to be, I adjust the speed. Generally, I'm at about 75 to 80%. That is my comfort zone, but I generally don't go too much faster because of friction, vibration, and everything like that. But I do go slower, in particular, if, let's see, that's a 1/2 inch. piece of wood. Uh, this is an 1/8 inch piece of wood. So we may cut that too, but we'll see. But the other factor is how hard, let me do this, how hard you're pushing. All right. Most people, when they're cutting, they just keep increasing how hard they're pushing this way. And you don't want to do that. You want the blade to do the work. You are gently feeding. But let's do our first cut quickly. And let me get my I probably shouldn't have my magnifying glass, but what I'm going to do, and what most people think, is you just feed it straight, much like you would with a bandsaw or a table saw, and you're going to get a straight line. That is not true with the scroll saw. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push a little bit too hard, and I am going to then also not adjust. I'm going to try and feed this as straight, and we're going to see what kind of cut I'm going to do. And I'm only going to go about halfway. So here we go. I'll just start it, and I'm going to try and feed it left and right and hard. Okay. I always love this. Okay, let's get it on the close up. Wait a second. Let's do this so you can see it. Let me do widescreen. There we go. Okay, okay. So you can see what happened. I fed that evenly and I kept the left and right sides as level as possible. And you can see that I pretty quickly came off the line. Now, the way that you're supposed to do it, so let's do this, is you gently feed it, slowly feed it. And what you're going to do is as you're watching, let me see where my pointy stick is here. Where I am looking is just in front of the blade. Usually there's like, I call it a little bubble of sawdust, and I watch how it's moving. And I make micro adjustments. I'm going to do it big, but I make micro adjustments like this to stay on that line. So let me get started here. And now I can see that it's going off, that it wants to go off to the right, but it has not gone off the red line. And I'm actually pushing the right side a little bit more than the left. Now I'm adjusting and I'm picking up speed. Now I'm not adjusting too much now. Now a little bit of right, a little bit of right. And I forgot to give you the top view again. Okay, I don't know if you can see that. Well, let me do it again so that you can still see some of the top here. All right, I'm gonna get it lined up. A little bit of left, a little bit of right. And yes, it is slow. A little bit of right. Here, let's switch to the widescreen and let's compare the two. You can see the one that I just did. Let me get that straight there. And you can see how straight that is and that I've nailed that line. There is no red whatsoever. And I can easily do that across, oh, that's what, 2.5, 3 inches. Um, I can do 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Actually, a lot of times I'll get a piece of wood that's 8 or 10 inches, 12 inches wide, and because it doesn't fit on my bandsaw, I do it here, and I can get a very fine and straight line. So there you go. Just to summarize, how do you get straight lines? Be aware of your speed, how fast and hard you are feeding it in, and doing your micro adjustments. And again, blade tension and blade thickness to a little extent. Again, thicker blade is a little bit easier, there's less deflection, but you can learn to do it with a number one blade. Um, you can do it with a number nine blade. But again, watching how fast and how hard you're doing that is really what is important here. So that's it with this version of Scroll Saw 101. May the Lord richly bless you. Make it a great day right here at Poppy's Workshop.